back. Today is the last week in our study of the book of Isaiah. 14 weeks through the book, which has been a long stretch, but we've really just been hitting the high points. So much truth and so much depth, as I'm sure that you have seen. And as Isaiah wraps up the book in the closing 2 chapters, we see him pull it all together. Not just another prophecy to close it out, but we see these parallels between the first 3 chapters of Genesis, the last 2 chapters of the book of Revelation, and then the last 2 chapters of the book of Isaiah. The people of God, he's been patient with them throughout the book. We've seen this theme. We've seen the people, rather than seeking God, they're comparing themselves to one another. And how often do we do the same thing? Rather than pursue holiness, we say, hey, I'm doing better than that guy. I'm doing better than that girl. I guess I'm well on my way. That is something that's old as time. We see it here in this book, and he draws it to a close in chapter 65, verse 1. We see that God has been patient with the people. He says, I was ready to be sought by those who did not ask for me. I was ready to be found by those who did not seek me. See, God is a God of grace, and he's a God of patience. He is patiently waiting on his people to call on him, to return to him. But instead they're comparing themselves to one another. As we move into the final chapter, chapter 66, we see this God of grace and this God of patience. He's also a God of justice. A time is coming. God is good, he is gracious, he is kind, he is patient, but he is just. And the goal here that we see in the closing chapter is that the truth of who God is to go forth to the nations. In chapter 66, verse 18, it says, For I know their works and their thoughts, and the time is coming to gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. So as we wrap up this book, we see it all come together. We see the truth that still is the same today, that God is pursuing his people. He's a God of grace, he's a God of patience, but he is a just God. And a time is coming where he will judge. So as we close out the book today, I turn it over to your life group leaders now.